Hi, Jonathan York from Bay Financial Partners, looking at the investment markets. At last, it looks as though the US is finally trying to get on top of sort of COVID-19. There's been a lot of sort of movements out there to try and get the economy reopened, and certainly state by state, gradually that's sort of taking place. They still have the highest number of cases, over 1.6 million, and the death toll has now ticked over 100,000. But gradually the states are looking at sort of reopening, so say sort of state by state, and just going to be very interesting to see how this sort of plays through, to see if you do see any spike in cases. So far that hasn't been the case. Well, the US has also been rocked by civil unrest. This is on the back of the death of George Floyd in Minnesota. Now, really, it's just going to be very interesting to see how the US can sort of cope with this. Certainly there's a lot of civil unrest out there, a lot of looting, and that's obviously really sort of detracting from the main sort of cause of the sort of civil unrest and the injustice that the sort of black and coloured population feel in the US. Hasn't really been helped by comments coming out of the White House and the administration. And it's just going to be very interesting to see how that does sort of play through. Because certainly, as you head into the election, if President Trump is going to look to get re-elected, he's going to need, a substantial portion of that sort of black vote. Currently on the polls, Biden is comfortably ahead. Really hasn't really done a whole lot of sort of campaigning either. But in terms of markets, they seem to be pretty much ignoring the civil unrest in the US. The Dow's currently around sort of 25,500, sort of steady recovery. And I say, as the economy gradually looks to reopen, you'd expect that to sort of push on a little bit further, providing they get this civil unrest sorted in a relatively short space of time. Now, on the back of the global economy gradually sort of coming back online, oil is still holding a reasonable bid around that sort of $35 a barrel. UK and Europe also looking to reopen. Certainly some of the sort of southern states in Europe, sort of Spain, Italy, Greece, etc., really need the sort of tourism market and tourism euros coming through. So they're looking to reopen sort of mid-June to July. But again, the data coming out of those sort of hotspots, especially Spain, is really pretty encouraging in terms of sort of new cases and also the death rate as well, which has fallen dramatically as they look to sort of get on top of the virus with a pretty brutal lockdown over a sort of 7-8 week period. Now here in New Zealand, the cases now, we've only got one active case. It's just going to be very interesting. Currently at level 2 on the sort of scales, but a protest march at the weekend really seemed to violate most of those sort of rules. And now there's this really strong push for the government to move down to level 1. And it looks like we could get a decision on that next week. Now, if that is the case, again, you know, you have the most sort of relaxed rules out there, pretty much anywhere in the global economy. Now, on the back of that relaxing of the rules, the border will still be hard closed unless you want to sort of come through and do the quarantine of sort of 2 weeks, etc. But what they might look at doing is, and there's quite a bit of talk about this, is opening up certainly a Pacific bubble with the islands, because again, you know, the islands really do rely on the sort of tourism dollar. But also as well a trans-Tasman sort of bubble between New Zealand and Australia as well. Now, obviously that will certainly be beneficial for both economies. You know, really during COVID, you know, the farmers almost seem to have been forgotten, really. There's been still a pretty severe drought, but it's interesting that sort of global dairy prices are holding up in the latest auctions. Now into the month of June as well. You know, the KiwiSaver year end is the end of June, and just make sure you've got enough contributions out there to get the maximum tax credit. If you're unsure on that, call us on 0800 867 323. Now, in this low interest rate environment, you know, if you're looking for income options, there are plenty of alternatives available out there. Call us on 0800 867 323 or go to the website www.bayfinancialpartners.co.nz for lots of interesting articles, and we look forward to speaking to you soon.